my computer chose 9:57 to do an update, so I was frantically clicking buttons and crossing fingers.
Brad. Joanne, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my computer was also being silly just now, but we are good.
Let me know when we have quorum, please. Joanne,
yep, you have quorum. Yep.
Okay. Before we get started, there's a few new faces maybe that everybody doesn't know, so we'll do a quick introduction. My name's Terry Ugolini. I'm the mayor of City of Thorold, and I chair the Town and Gown Committee, and I'll go to Joanne next.
My name is Joanne Goulet. I'm the Deputy City Clerk for the City of Thorold.
And up next on my screen, I see Bernard.
Hi there, my name is Bernard. I'm with thoroldtoday.ca.
Thank you. Jordana.
Hi, my name is Jordana Vitas, and I am representing Leanne Gagnon from Niagara College.
Thank you. Steve.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Kosh. I'm the Executive Director for the Niagara College Student Administrative Council, and here with Gordana, representing NC SAC and the student side.
Thank you. Andrew.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew. I'm one of the members at large on the committee.
Sean.
Sean Dowd, Niagara Regional Police. I oversee the city of St. Catharines and Thorold.
Thank you, Sean. Jason.
Thank you, Terry. Jason Simpson, Chief Building and Bylaw Official for the City of Thorold.
I see Elliot, it says on the screen.
Yeah, Stephanie Hamilton. I'm a community member in Thorold. I'm a homeowner at Richmond in Winterberry who's affected by a lot of these issues.
Thank you. Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Ken Sentence. I'm a councillor in the City of Thorold.
Janice.
Hi, good morning. I'm Janice Kretsch. I'm a member at large for the City of Thorold.
Brad Clark.
Good morning, everyone. Brad Clark, Director of Student Life and Success at Brock University. Off-campus living and neighbor relations falls within my portfolio.
And who else? Joanne, that's all I got on my screen, but is there anyone else I'm missing?
Yeah.
Terry.
It's Gary Citrigno.
Member at large, yes.
Member at large, yes.
Yeah. Who else?
John Kenny.
John Kenny, City Councilor. Thanks, John. Who else?
I'm here, Terry. Idolo Marandola, Marandola Property Management.
Thank you, Idolo. Anyone else?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Paul Carpanini. I'm not sure if I'm a member at large, also a landlord with a family in my place and a quite long resident of Thorold.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else?
Penny Palmer.
Penny Palmer, go ahead.
Hi, Penny Palmer, resident of Thorold, also member at large.
Okay, and it's Penny Kramer.
Yeah.
I'm also member at large.
Thank you, Penny. So we have two Pennies. We have Penny Kramer and Penny Palmer, both members at large. Am I missing anyone else?
You also have Austin Hurley, Vice President, External Affairs for the Brock University Student Union.
Thank you, Austin.
And I'm here, Kaylee Rosetto, also from BUSU.
Thank you, Kaylee. Okay, so we'll get started. I'll call this meeting to order at 10:09. Adoption of agenda that the Thorold Town and Gown Committee agenda be adopted as presented for today's meeting. All those in favor? Is there anyone opposed? That's carried. Adoption of the minutes, that the minutes from the following meetings be approved: January 25th, 2021 and August 23rd, 2021. Are there any errors or omissions that anyone wants to raise? Seeing none, all those in favor? Is there anybody opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Are there any declarations of interest, pecuniary interest? Seeing none, up first on our agenda is a delegation from Stephanie Hamilton, a resident, to provide an update from the Juneberry area. She's a representative that has been dealing with a lot of the issues in that area. Thanks for coming, Stephanie. You're up.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate you putting me at the front of the agenda. So there's a couple of little smaller issues I want to address first. So one of them being garbage issues. We would, as a community, appreciate having garbage stations provided in the community, especially maybe down Winterberry, so that a lot of the students, especially who live in the community, have somewhere to put their waste because they're just dropping it. You know, even when parties are happening, we're hearing kids say, hey, where do I put my cans? Where do I put this? There's just nothing provided for them, for the ones who want to do it. Not that there still won't be a littering issue, but I think if we can get some, but they need to be secured because unfortunately there's a lot of vandalism happening in our area. So I'd almost like to see those like triple cans happening maybe over on Winterberry. And I think those ones should be city provided, and then maybe closer to the Juneberry area, a lot of the parties are happening. Maybe that needs to be where Brock needs to be, but you guys can figure that kind of out. So that's one issue that we'd like to see addressed somehow. Another issue is, so as a homeowner, when I purchased in this area, I specifically asked when I saw these townhouses in strips behind my house, I said, are those going to be Brock off-campus residents? And I was assured that they were told, that Mountain View, who I purchased from, was told by the city development that they had to have a certain number of townhouses built in the community, that it was mandated, and that they were being built to be affordable housing for families, but there would be a few students. Now, these houses are, what we're now observing, are being deliberately built to house students. They are built to have smaller porches so that you can't congregate on them with lots of people. They're being built with multiple bedrooms so that they can have multiple students housed into them. There's different observations of the residential homeowners are observing that are like, no, this is definitely being built as an off-campus residence and we were lied to, is how they're feeling, many of them. So we're all kind of really frustrated. Like, I've invested $1 million into this home. It's the highest property tax I've ever had to contribute into, and I'm having to deal with a lot of unbelievable issues that I've never expected to have to deal with. And so you're now seeing, you know, over the many conversations with the different departments I've talked to over this last almost year, one of the resolutions that was proposed was putting up fencing to divide up these areas. But what we're actually seeing happening is end caps are going up only between, I don't even know how many units there are in each strip, let's say 10 townhouses units. There's approximately 8 foot end caps being put up. Now, the law code, from what I'm understanding, Mr. Simpson, is 6'4". So I was only allowed to do a 6'4" fence, and we're a 6 foot family, and I've got no privacy in my yard. But these townhouses are allowed to have almost 8 foot fences. It's also blocking now the NRP from being able to see what's going on back there on the private property. So it's actually, in my opinion, causing more problems and not doing what it was intended to do. And I'm not seeing that division even happening to try to break up that gully that we were originally told was going to be happening. So if I can get some clarification on what's going on with that issue, would it be appreciated? I just want to, oh yeah, parking. So parking has become a huge issue. When you're putting 5, 6, 7, 8 students into one house and you're providing 1 to 2 parking spaces, you're over flooding the streets with cars. And it's happening in multiple houses. So if you've got 10 rental properties on one street and you've got 50 kids, 50 cars happening, and you've only got spots for 10 people, this is becoming a huge problem that needs to be addressed when city development is designing these kinds of strips of housing. So that's a concern that we've got in this area. Another one is over on Winterberry. In the original city development, they made a little small community that was intended to be housing for a seniors community, is what we were told. We're now seeing them being built. I've been here 3 years and a couple of weeks, and they're finally being built, and we're seeing for sale signs. And a lot of people in my community are already getting nervous that they're just going to be sold for more student housing. And it's not actually going to be the intended community that we were told it was supposed to be. So we're curious about the update on that, I guess. So I think those are all the smaller issues. I just want to make sure my notes. Okay. Now the biggest issue while we're really here is these large parties that keep congregating in our community. And this was an issue that happened before COVID and before I even lived in this community. First thing people told me when I told them where I was building was, you don't want to be in that community. It's overrun by Brock. Get out of there if you can get out of there still. And I was like, no, it can't be that bad. And I didn't believe them. And this has been the worst experience of my life. So I have talked to almost every single department about this issue. I have talked to NRP, Brock. I apologize, I haven't talked to Niagara College. I have talked to City Council. I've talked to the mayor. I've even talked to my MPP. I've even called Doug Ford's department. I am waiting to get from Mr. Clark his contact for public health because I want to talk to them. And I'm even out there on the streets talking to these students because I want to hear every single perspective and not just be the aggravated homeowner who's being tortured by these situations. I want to see what the problem is. And what I'm hearing the most is it's a cat and mouse game. Brock is saying we need the police to enforce. We've got zero tolerance on this behavior. We're sending out letters. We're knocking on doors, telling people you need to be a good member of the community. And then I'm like, okay, that's great. You're doing those things, but what are you doing to enforce it? And I'm being told by Brock, we can't enforce it because the police aren't pressing charges. So we don't know what's going on. So I'm like, okay, I got to talk to NRP. So I talked to NRP. They say to me, they're on private property. We can't do anything. We can't step off of that sidewalk onto the property. And they don't even have to tell me their names. So we can't press charges unless we see them walking on the public property doing something illegal. We can't do anything. NRP is also constantly saying to me, we're understaffed. And sometimes it was, we don't have funding for staff, but now there's funding for staff, be it by Brock provision or city provision, whatever it is. But then they're saying we can't even fill the spots. And I'm like, okay, this is just, and then NRP's like, well, we can't press charges on private property. So then they're not doing anything. And then Brock's not doing anything because the police aren't pressing charges. And then we're here as community members being like, no, doing anything. And they're just blaming each other. And it's extremely frustrating. So from talking from everybody, my biggest analysis is I think this is a Brock problem that the Brock needs to contain, control, and have consequences. So if you can contain as many of the numbers as you can on campus, you're making that a public property that allows the police to be able to control any issues that are out of bounds and give consequences to those who are doing anything illegal. If you can contain the numbers, you're not flooding the problem into the community. So I'm not saying that these students can't be a part of the community, but you're talking about these kids who are home for the first time. They've been in online learning for the past 2 years of school, first time away from home. They want to socialize. They want to get out there and do stuff. And they're being told by Brock, from my understanding, that they're paying rent and they're not allowed to have a friend over in their room. If you live on the 3rd floor, you can't socialize with somebody who lives on the 4th floor. Now, I realize that's probably a public health issue in that regard. However, all these kids are double vaxxed and masked. You're causing social oppression to these kids, and you're containing them like caged animals and telling them they can't socialize. So they are leaving campus and going to where there's other live, which happens to be Juneberry. And it's getting over flooded. In September, 1/8, it's just astronomical numbers. And I'm not saying they're all Brock students. They're obviously, it's just a lot of young adults from every direction. They come from London, they come from all over. But when I talk to these kids, they're like, Brock provide, and then Brock will say, oh, well, we provide for them events every night. It's on the wall. There's events. So I ask these kids, well, what are they providing for you? Online video games from 8:30 to 9:30. We don't want to do that. My 12-year-old is like, that sounds awesome. You're not catering to the full amount of community. I'm observing that you need to find out what it is these kids want. Maybe that means you need to have multiple bars because of COVID now, keep the revenue on campus, keep the numbers on campus, keep it on a public property so NRP can enforce things, and also keep it on campus so you avoid drunk driving. There's just so many other things by containing the issue and keeping as many numbers on there as possible. You can control it and you can give consequences who don't do it. When I'm talking to NRP, they're telling me, and I've talked to multiple staff sergeants, and they're all continually saying the same things. They don't know who's putting on the party, so they don't know who to charge. Even if they find out which unit is actually hosting the party, there could be 4 people who live there and they don't know who's the one. Like it seems like their hands are tied in every direction by keeping it in the community. And that's not fair. You're burdening the NRP with stuff that doesn't need to be burdened in the community. You're burdening the residences who are having to tolerate this. My one neighbor, he's living out of boxes, waiting for his capital gains to get up so he can get out of here because he's losing his mind. His dogs are being tortured by the mass amounts of people coming in the community. He's running his sprinkler at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night to 1 in the morning to keep people off of his property so they don't urinate on his property. My neighbor who's 70 years old, in their 70s, their patio furniture was stolen. My neighbor beside me, she's pregnant with her first child, whatever direction the party's coming from that night, decides which bedroom she sleeps in. And she might have to move bedrooms throughout the night. I'm having to move my kids' bedrooms around and have the heavy sleepers sleep at the back of the house. I'm now going to have to put in motion sensors at the side of my house because I live right at the corner of Ironwood and Hawthorne, and they all congregate at my corner. So even if they get kicked out by the police, they all stand at my corner and wait to be picked up. There's just so many unbelievable issues. Another issue, one of my neighbors was telling me, he's sitting in his garage by himself. NRP comes around and tells him, you got to close your garage door. So he felt forced to close his garage door when he's hanging out by himself. He says to him, I'm not a student. NRP's like, nope, you got to close that door. So he leaves it open a crack so he can have some airflow into his garage. NRP comes back around. I told you you're supposed to put that garage door down. Bylaw's going to come and give you a ticket. I was like, what? This is his property. He's not doing anything disruptive, and he's being punished because of what the young adults are doing in our community. These are not okay things that are happening that we're having to tolerate. They're seeing sex happening out in public. They're seeing, the one guy with the garage, he gets up at 6:30 in the morning to put out his garbage because people steal the garbage cans. It's just, these are only some of the issues that we're all dealing with. So I really, really want the focus to be on seeing what Brock can do to contain their responsibility. Yes, there will be problems that will still happen, even if you contain as much as you can, but then that's when you deal with those isolated incidences. I'm a mom of 6. It's my responsibility to shelter, feed, and make sure my kids are entertained appropriately so that they don't get in trouble. And if I don't provide those things for them, it's my responsibility if they get into trouble. If I don't provide things for them to do in my home that are appropriate and they go over to that forest and they set a fire, that's my responsibility that I didn't provide what they needed that was appropriate because they don't have the skill set. So that's what I have to say. Appreciate your time. We really want this fixed. I want to stay in this community. I had almost sold my home to get out of it. And I was like, no, I don't want to be bullied out of it. I really hope we can find a solution for this that's long-term. And I don't want to push it into another community by just getting it under control in ours. That's what the actual root problem is kids want to socialize, they want somewhere to go, and they need that provided for them that's appropriate and is in a public space. So it gives us the
Thank you. Can you hear me? I think I froze up here.
No, you're good there.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Some of the issues that you raised will be addressed as we move through the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to have any questions for Stephanie? If you do, please, Gary, did you have a question? Gary, you're muted.
Okay, I can really sympathize with Stephanie because
Gary,
I've been in this area for a long time, my whole life, and with this party that happened at Juneberry, that's just one issue.
But Gary, if you have issues to raise, you can bring them up when it's your turn in the agenda. This is just for questions right now.
Okay, but I can sympathize with her because it's all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
In this area, but I'll bring it up when it's my turn.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Is there any question?
Yeah, I had a quick question.
Go ahead, Inspector.
Yeah, no problem. I already spoke with Stephanie on the phone, and she certainly brings up more than enough valid points and has some good ideas and that. I just wondered, in the past, say, month or so, have you seen any improvement down in that area at all? I know, like, I get a weekly report as to the other ones, and like we lay a lot of charges, and I just even know Saturday night how many tickets we laid under the LLA, the Liquor License Act, and provincial or regional bylaw tickets we issued. I just wondered if you're seeing any improvement.
So what I'm seeing from my perspective is I see the police trying and I see that they are overwhelmed because I'm talking to them. I spoke to you because I was really curious with reading week. There was 2 weekends where a lot of the students were gone. So I talked to the NRP and I talked to other community homeowners asking them, okay, well, what differences did you see? Because I know what I saw. And what I saw is there was no numbers. There was minimal parties that were happening, but they weren't out of control, at least in my neighborhood. Officer Dowd explained to me that there was some issues on Elderberry, and there was another street. They had to break up some parties, but everybody was cordial. They let the NRP in to break it up. It was very respectful. They laid some charges. So charges are still happening, but what I observed is the NRP wasn't overwhelmed and they could do their job and do it efficiently, and it didn't burn in the community. So I'm really grateful that you guys are still staying on it. I do still see police presence, but we are getting to the season where it's colder. So I don't know what they do now. I don't know how. And especially if they're not allowed to socialize on campus and they're going into a cold season, my heart breaks for these kids. I could not imagine paying rent somewhere and being treated like a caged animal is what I'm observing. You can't have a friend over, you can't socialize on other floors. That's social oppression as far as I can see. So one question that I have with officer, or I don't know, do I call you sergeant or officer? I apologize. He mentioned that charges were laid. So once charges are laid, if they find out that any of the charges that were laid were Brock students or say Niagara College students, what enforcement, what's the next step that happens with Brock being included in that? Because I have a follow-up question with charges that are happening, if that's able to be clarified for us.
Brad, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can speak to that, certainly. So as has been mentioned over the last number of weeks, there have been significant coordinated efforts between the various parties to address some of the challenges that we're seeing in this particular off-campus neighborhood and others. We have over the last 3 or 4 weeks seen a significant increase in the number of provincial offense notices and municipal bylaw tickets issued. So I think, Stephanie, the question that you're asking is how does that contribute to kind of the overall framework as far as enforcement and specifically as it would relate to the student code of conduct? And really, that's a case by case. So again, the university, the city, and the regional police are in consistent communication with each other as incidents are addressed off campus through municipal bylaws or provincial offenses or perhaps even criminal charges, although I don't know that we've seen any of those recently. Those are issues that, again, we do look at and look to see where our student code of conduct might intersect. It would be an escalation, most certainly, and so it wouldn't apply necessarily to every case, but if there is an instance where we can reasonably extend the jurisdiction of the code to address concerns off campus, we most certainly would. So that's, again, a case by case. We look at it in connection with the other enforcement agencies across the local area and determine what the appropriate next step is. So there isn't a kind of a single answer I could give you, Stephanie, other than to say it is something that we look for and where appropriate.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, because I'm being told by Brock, we can't enforce anything unless the police press charges. So I wanted to know if once the police press charges, if it's related to a Brock student, if enforcement is happening, is really what we wanted to know. It sounds like you're trying.
One step further on that, Brad, if you want to elaborate, is in our request, which I'll talk about later, about the code of conduct, that Brock is reviewing the code of conduct right now and try and give it more teeth to deal with these type of issues. Am I correct in that? And do you want to elaborate on that?
I certainly can. So we are in the process of reviewing the code of conduct, both scope and scale, recognizing that this is an issue that we're seeing on many near campus, in many near campus communities across Ontario. We're also consulting with our counterparts at other universities to best understand their approach. We are seeking external counsel as well in that regard, and so I would expect in the coming probably 6 weeks or so to have information back. But again, the code as it presently stands does have mechanisms to address off-campus behavior. Again, it would be a kind of an escalated situation where we'd be able to draw connection back to the broader safety of the campus community, or where there's a sanctioned university event occurring off campus, or where it's a official university organization. So again, in those current frameworks, we are reviewing every instance, but are also, as Terry mentioned, speaking with our counterparts and also with external counsel to understand if the code as it's presently written is again still appropriate.
Thank you. Any further questions? Go ahead, Stephanie. Did you?
I have a question for the NRP in regards to this. So when I spoke to one of the other staff sergeants, he had said to me that he's talking to the Crown Attorney, and he's having, because right now they're on private property, so he's restricted a lot. He says his hands are tied with a lot. He can't press a lot of charges, right? So he said that he's looking at noise complaints affect lawful enjoyment. Therefore, does it become a criminal charge of mischief? So he's talking to the Crown Attorney. But he also said he doesn't want to have to charge these kids with a criminal charge for having to hang out. Right? Like he's like, I don't want to have to do these, but my hands are tied in so many ways. So I really strongly encourage that when Brock and Niagara and the NRP are all talking, that we really need to figure out how to provide for these kids the appropriate places to socialize and partake in what they're trying to do. One of the kids said to me, he's like, they won't even give us a chance to hang out and show that we can behave. Let us hang out together for a couple of days on campus and show that we can be good. We're not even giving a chance. This is how these kids are feeling. Most of them are good. I'm talking to them. I'm seeing their behavior. So if you can contain them, you can control the boundaries, you can give authority to the NRP, and you can give consequences to those who don't abide.
Just real quick, on the, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. On the part about consulting with the Crown Attorney, the Crown Attorney is basically given direction, though not formal direction, that it's something that should be handled by the police and bylaw, and not bring the students before the courts for a criminal charge right now. I mean, obviously there's always extenuating circumstances, and I'm sure Brad can jump in on this one, but just for Brock's standpoint in enforcement and regional bylaw and the police, there are provisions where, or there's a lack of provisions where they can gather in large numbers at Brock University. So a lot of stuff for the larger gatherings, Brock can't hold because you're only allowed 100-person gathering. And hopefully in the coming weeks or month, we'll see some changes from the provincial government, but they're not trying to steal Brad's thunder, I'm sure. It's an issue with Brock as well.
I think you'll find that the restrictions have been loosened and there's more latitude now. And I know off campus, some of these places are holding functions like right here in Thorold. The Moose and Goose is back up and running, so there'll be more opportunities for the students to congregate in those settings. Brad, do you want to speak to Brock University, what they got planned? And then we have to move on because we got a heavy agenda.
Yeah, I'll just speak generally. There's more detail to share in other sections of the agenda, but certainly we are actively planning student events, both in person, indoors and outdoors, on campus and off campus. That again is something that we are doing within the safety frameworks provided by the provincial regulations, but do recognize that providing additional, I'll call them an alternative opportunities for students to socialize is important, and something that we are certainly actively working through. Halloween weekend is just in front of us, and there's a comprehensive plan both from the education but also from the events, activities, and enforcement angles, all in the works present.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, is there any further questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on in the agenda. And Stephanie, a lot of the issues you raised will be more information as we move through the agenda. I really do like that garbage station idea, and I'll make sure I deal with staff with that. I think that's an excellent idea, as well as other things you raised. But that one really, I think, could have some teeth and help the situation. Okay. Update from community partners. I'll start off and then just to let everyone know, letters have gone out to Lynn Wells, interim president of Brock University, and Chief Brian McCullough of Niagara Regional Police Service regarding the issues of that we've been experiencing, particular in the high density student areas. We continue to lobby the provincial government for funding related to heads and beds and other COVID-related funding. Last week, at the end of the week, we sent out letters to the landlords, particularly in the Juneberry, Winterberry area, relating to our expectations and their part in this, as well as the fencing issue, which Stephanie raised, asking them that we would appreciate them to fence their units. The other issue, and Jason can elaborate on the end fencing issue when he speaks later, because that issue, he has an answer on that issue as well. So we're working. We also have our weekly, I'll talk under subcommittee meetings as well, but I just wanted to give an update that those letters have gone out, and I'll be meeting again with Lynn Wells to address additional funding issue that our community feels that we are going to try and get Brock to pay for some additional funding so we can have extra bylaw patrol, because we believe that that shouldn't be put on the back of the taxpayers. So we're working with upper levels of government as well as Brock University on that issue. Brock has been paying for extra policing, and they have been doing that since the beginning of the term. And I'll let Brad elaborate on that. But anyways, update from community partners. So Brad, I'll let you go and then I'll move on Inspector Dowd. And then we'll go to our subcommittee meetings after that. Okay?
Yes, thank you, Terry. I think most of my updates will fit well within other sections of the agenda. But just to say that this is an issue that we are most certainly engaged in, and that we see ourselves as a key partner in working towards resolution. Certainly the weekly meetings have been helpful, and recent meetings to prepare and plan for Halloween have also, I think, led to some very good outcomes, which I'll share at that point in the agenda. In the meantime, I'll move to the next speaker, perhaps.
Okay, Inspector Dowd, do you want to? You're on a call there right now, so Jason, do you want to give us an update? Maybe you can talk about that fencing issue as well as an update from our bylaw end.
Certainly, thank you, Terry. So as far as bylaw is concerned, we have been working or meeting with representatives of Brock University, Niagara College, and NRP over the previous weeks on a weekly basis to get updates. Excuse me. Bylaw officers have been going door to door with representatives of Brock University as well, talking to students about behavior and expectations. We have been working on, we always have staff working on the weekends during the day. I've been trying to provide additional staffing when we can over the weekends to address any issues that have come up over the evenings and during the night. Sorry. We have laid numerous charges under our municipal bylaws, and we are also working on trying to provide some enhanced enforcement. I'm working on trying to get some scheduling done for this coming weekend as well. Oh, as far as the fencing is concerned, those end caps, I was notified that those end caps were installed as they were designed or required to be installed. The purpose for the height of those fences is for noise attenuation. They were required as a part of that development to mitigate the noise from the 58 and 406, I believe it is, that encompass those areas. And because of the orientation of the development, those end caps were required for that purpose.
Thank you, Jason. Sean, go ahead.
The only thing I have to add is our continued involvement with the problem areas in Winterberry, Juneberry, as laid out in our Wednesday meetings. We, in cooperation with Brock has 2 officers out there. We enhance that with another sergeant, another officer. But then the last weekend and this coming weekend, we had an operational plan that see an increase in the amount of officers over and above that as well. We had a paddy wagon out this weekend. We did lay several charges, like I said, under the under bylaw, city bylaw tickets and a lot of parking tickets. And we also issued a lot of liquor license tickets. Provincial offenses noticed, and with Halloween coming this coming weekend, we have an operation plan for enhanced over and above what we normally have out there. So other than that, that's about all I have for today.
Thank you. Is there someone that wants to speak from Niagara College? Just because our community partners as being part of this, that when we meet.
I'm here to represent Leanne Gagnon, and I think this would be the opportunity to speak at this time with her report.
Go ahead. I appreciate that. Thank you, Gordana. Is it Gordana?
It is Gordana. Thank you very much for clarifying.
Thank you.
Okay, so from Leanne Gagnon, as of today, Monday, October 25th, for Halloween, the Niagara College does not have any plans to host parties on campus. The pubs still remain closed. Messaging about celebrating in a safe manner has been posted and will continue to go out. Mandatory vaccinations, we are continuing with our mandatory vaccination policy. The majority of students have uploaded their proof of vaccination. For those who had one vaccination only, they've been operating a rapid antigen testing clinic until they receive their second dose. The clinic ends this Friday. Enrollment numbers for Niagara College for this semester are 4825 students on campus, 3872 students online. The residence numbers for the Daniel J. Patterson campus in Niagara-on-the-Lake, 164 in room. That's 82% occupancy. The Welland campus, there's 204 in room, and that's 87% or almost 88% occupancy. For fall convocation, we have a virtual send-off planned for almost 1,000 new graduates this fall with a special guest who is well-versed in the spoken and written word. Randall Ajay, Ontario's first poet laureate, will deliver the convocation address at the fall convocation ceremonies on the 29th. For winter term update, we have a strong focus on ensuring a safe learning environment. Niagara College is planning to increase on-campus learning in January for winter 2022, including the opportunity for more on-campus learning for all students. In addition, Niagara College is planning to provide on-campus learning experiences in every program area this winter. Many programs will continue to mix remote and in-person learning. Students in all programs will be able to have partial on-campus learning experiences. And Indigenous Awareness Month is for November, and we are planning a number of events. And we encourage the community to participate as much as possible. I am the manager of the Library and Learning Commons, and we are hosting a film screening of Beans. And we hope you'll check out the website to possibly participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mayor. No real huge update from my side. What I will say, though, is communication to our students in off-campus housing. Obviously, always open to working with Brock and Busu to integrate that communication so that it comes from both institutions as well. So we understand we do have students living in off-campus housing areas in Thorold as well. So we'll continue that coordination, and if there's help needed from our side, obviously open and willing to be able to communicate with our Niagara College students that live in that area as well. So I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Austin from BUSU, which is Brock University Student Union. Are you there, Austin?
Yeah, I am. Don't have too many updates. We're working in conjunction with Bradley Clark and the Student Life Department for events on campus. So there's going to be a couple small events running next week in person. I don't expect it's going to be too busy considering capacity limits, but we still are working within regulations. Besides that, we're open to working with the community to trying to bring down the partying, I guess. Anyway, that's everything.
Thank you. Kaylee, did you want to add anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So that's before we go on to weekly sub-date meeting update, I just want to add that the code of conduct issue, we're working with Brock. Brock's reviewing their code of conduct. One thing that come up with our council is that repeat offenders, there should be some teeth in the code of conduct so that repeat offenders and repeat addresses are dealt with. That was one issue that come up. The other thing I continue to meet as well with our subcommittee I also meet on a regular basis with interim president Lynn Wells, and we meet on a regular basis to go over issues, not only student-related issues, but partnership and different opportunities working together in the community. Okay, so now I'll move on to weekly subcommittee meetings update. And this has been something that we have been meeting weekly since, I would say probably the middle of August. And we continue to meet weekly. We're meeting again on Wednesday. And we continue to meet, and we go over the previous week and what we can do to tweak and get better, and what initiatives we need to undertake and constantly improve. And what I want to say is, and I'll get our partners to speak on this, but those meetings have been very effective, and they include representatives from Brad's group from Brock University, BUSU. They include our bylaw. They include Niagara Region bylaw. They include a Brock off-campus patrol, which has been very effective in helping us out in the community. Obviously, the Niagara Regional Police Service and waste management from the region, as well as Niagara College. And we meet weekly. So just to let you know that when we don't just meet here as our regular town and gal meeting, we also meet weekly with the subcommittee. So Brad, do you want to start off and give an update on these meetings and how we've been progressing and what we look to do in the future?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. As Terry mentioned, the group meets weekly. It's intentionally a subset that has different partners who can focus both on educational components or proactive measures, but also responsive or enforcement measures. It is important to kind of look at this as a week by week progress. Certainly some of the issues we saw in August and September, in response, we've implemented a variety of different both educational and enforcement measures, and look to see how that is contributing to bettering the issue as we move through the fall. I think one of the most important aspects of that regular meeting is that it keeps communication channels open. As any of the partners might identify problem addresses or problem or kind of particular issues of concern as they evolve over the weeks, we're able to share those concerns, but also ideas or strategies that might address and implement those for subsequent weeks. So I think that's been one of the more significant benefits. And of course, we are not yet where we want to be. These issues are continuing, and so it's really important. I think others would agree that we continue those meetings. As I mentioned earlier, one of the primary focuses over the last several weeks has been preparations towards Halloween, recognizing that both last weekend and the weekend before gave us a chance to implement some measures that would kind of be tested out to see if they were effective, looking towards that weekend in the last week of October. So again, we'll share more on that as we move through the agenda, but again, I think primarily for us, hearing the issues as they're evolving week to week, and then working with the partners to implement strategies to address is one of the most beneficial aspects of those regular meetings. Happy to share as other questions might arise.
Thank you. Jason, do you want to have anything to add with these meetings and how effective the reports and everything's been for our bylaw group?
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, the weekly meetings have been very effective. One of the biggest advantages to them is that open communication, as Brad had identified. It helps us identify problem properties, repeat properties, so that we pay special attention to these ones. It's given us an opportunity to partner up with Brock University and do door-to-door connections throughout the week. So they are effective. As Brad said, we still have work to do, but I feel we are moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Jason. Sean, do you have anything you want to add on that? Because you've been at these meetings or had a representative at these meetings.
Right. No, again, we appreciate the meetings and the sharing of information. Obviously, from the start when the school, when the students came back until now, our enforcement efforts continuously ramp up. We're laying more charges now than we ever have. Whether that enforcement is equating to lower numbers of youth congregating out there, but we certainly have ramped up our efforts and the amount of charges or offense notices that are being issued. So we'll continue with that. And I think, again, maybe once some restrictions start lifting and there's other opportunities to go elsewhere, I'm hoping we'll see a decline in that area, but we'll still be out there. And like I said, we have an enhanced approach for this coming weekend, with it being Thanksgiving. So, Halloween. I'm one behind. So, but anyways, we will be out there in full force again.
Okay. And Austin, do you want to add anything from the BUSU perspective? Because I know you've been at these meetings.
No, I think you guys had it pretty covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm going to move on, because then all our people that are here, don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you. We're going to do a round table and everybody will have an opportunity to speak. So don't think that you won't get your chance. Update from the Town and Gown Association of Ontario. And Brad, you want to speak to this? You sit on that group.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for those around the meeting table today who may not be familiar, TGAO, the Town and Gown Association of Ontario, is an organization that looks to address and increase awareness and communication around near campus issues. Town obviously representing terminology representing the city, and then Gown terminology representing the post-secondary institution, college or university. There's members from all variety of stakeholder groups, colleges, universities, municipalities, police services, neighborhood associations, student groups, fire services, all sorts of different stakeholders, and it's, again, an organization that is very much focused on these issues. For additional information, folks can go to tgao.ca. Happy to note that the City of Thorold is a standing member of the Town and Gown Association of Ontario, as is Brock University, and actually both were part of the original founding organizations for that group in the early 2000s. I wanted to share that the next Town and Gown Association meeting is this coming Thursday. That one of the initiatives that the board of directors, which I serve on, is pursuing is a provincial dialogue around large unsanctioned street gatherings. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, this is an issue that we're seeing in near campus communities across the province, and which, although we have seen this issue emerging over the last 5 or 6 years, certainly seems to be exacerbated this year for a number of reasons. So it's expected that forum is going to be held virtually, likely in the new year, and I'll share information about that meeting when it becomes available. But it's on our agenda for discussion at this meeting this coming Thursday. Happy to answer any questions.
I can just say that I was honored at the annual meeting to be one of the panelists at the last Town and Gown annual meeting, which was last spring. And we hosted, what year did we host it? Just before COVID, we hosted the Town and Gown.
That's right. We hosted a national conference June 2019, which was the second time that Niagara has hosted. We also amongst the community partners hosted in June 2005.
And it's good that that next meeting is dealing with the same issues we're dealing with, because those issues are not unique to our area. Every university city is experiencing the same issues, and we can all work together and learn from one another. So I think that's an important initiative. So, okay, we're going to move on to holiday preparation. First it was Thanksgiving, now Sean, and now I'm calling it holiday, but it's Halloween preparation. And we're going to go over, basically, this is a little different this year because we've been preparing every weekend like it's Halloween. But Brad, maybe you want to speak a little on that, and then I'll open the floor. So.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can definitely share some detail. As is mentioned, this has been a topic of discussion and planning for numerous weeks now. We most recently, as our kind of internal campus planning group, met last Thursday, and we'll be finalizing our strategy and plans early this week. There's a summary document that I'm preparing, which I'll also share with key partners when it's finalized in the next day or so. But just to share some highlights. First, generally as we approach these times of year, think Halloween, think homecoming, think St. Patrick's Day. There's a variety of actions that we look to implement from the university perspective. One, from the educational side of things, and helping students to be aware of their rights and responsibilities off campus, is a multifaceted awareness campaign, which we've coined "Don't Put the Bad in Badger." It's a variety of different social media and other communication, using social media and other communication platforms to get messaging out there around not just how to be a good neighbor, but also some of the penalties and consequences of misconduct off campus. So that is rolling out this week, both in print but also digital form. I mentioned that the meeting of internal partners is kind of a cross-section of the university. So whether it's Student Life, my department, or the Students' Union, Student Wellness and Accessibility, Department of Residences, Campus Security, Human Rights and Equity, there's a variety of different partners that are all contributing to this strategy. I'll give some highlights, recognizing I will share a more detailed document in the coming days. Speaking from the Department of Residences, they've been offering both healthy relationship programming, consent programming for each of the residence communities in recent weeks. Again, that's an important issue. Further, they've asked all of their residence life staff, so that's the residence dons, the residence senior leaders, community programmers, to be offering alternative programming Friday, October 29th, Saturday, October 30th, and Sunday, October 31st in the evenings for resident students. Again, the goal here is providing compelling alternatives and safe alternatives for resident students who want to take part in kind of Halloween festivities. A variety of different things, games nights, movie marathons, Halloween themed activities and events, all occurring on campus evenings and weekends this week. During this coming week as well, Student Wellness and Accessibility is arranging a series of campus-wide educational campaigns on substance abuse, consent, staying safe during Halloween in the context of COVID-19, safe partying, safe drinking. Student Wellness and Accessibility is also partnering with a number of different campus partners on their initiatives as well. Brock Recreation is going to be expanding their offerings this coming weekend. Also, on Friday, October 29th, Pumpkins in the Pool is a new event that they've launched where students will be able to use the university pool and swim side along pumpkins that they can then take home and carve. also offering extended hours on in the evenings this week. This weekend, I should say. On Saturday night, we're lighting up Alumni Field. We're calling it Friday Night Lights. I think I just messed up the title, but there's a pretty catchy title that they had thought of for that one. There'll be soccer, flag football, spike ball, and other events and activities, again, looking to provide additional evening offerings that are an alternative to some of the challenges that we're seeing off campus. Further along that line, Brock Sports also has a series of varsity games between Thursday, October 28th and Sunday, October 31st that are being promoted as alternatives. Student Life of Success is offering a number of alternative Halloween programs, both on and off campus this week. October 27th, which is Wednesday, and also Thursday this week. There's various escape rooms planned off campus. Thursday, October 28th, there's a themed painting event, along with other Halloween activities. There's in the Success Center, which is our academic support area, they're offering a Tip or Treat, which will be taking place one of the evenings this week. On Saturday, October 30th, there's a large movie event planned for students at Landmark Cinemas, and additional activities as well. And then on October 31st, we're hosting Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun music trivia event in the evenings as well. So again, these are just some highlights, but the idea is to provide a coordinated set of alternative events and offerings, both on campus and off, so that, again, students can embrace the Halloween spirit without having to do so in more negative ways off campus. Again, part of what we're doing in response to some of the challenges we're seeing, providing those types of alternatives and recognizing that while these may not appeal to every student, they certainly will appeal to many. And as we continue to navigate some of the capacity challenges, that we're currently kind of bound to with respect to COVID regulation, the idea of stacking events and having multiples is one of the strategies that we think will be an important tool. As was mentioned earlier, 100-person gatherings outside, 25 people inside is the current restrictions. But one thing that we see is that taking students to sanctioned off-campus events at venues where they might have higher capacity limits is one approach. And then, as I mentioned, multiple campus departments planning multiple events for those Friday and Saturday night timeframes is a second approach, and we'll see how that translates through the course of this week. But it's something that we plan to continue through the rest of this term, and then certainly next term, if we have the same capacity limits in place, we'll take a similar approach. Happy to answer any questions that people might have.
Thank you, Brad. I'm gonna Jordana, did you want to add anything from Niagara College? I know you touched on some of that in your presentation, but did you have anything else you want to add regarding Halloween?
Not at this time. There's no official events planned, and as I mentioned, the pubs are still closed. We're a little bit more limited on campus as of right now, based on the planning that was made previously ahead of time. By indicators, Ontario provincial limits indicating due to COVID restrictions. So winter should open things up now that we've heard more from the Ontario provincial government.
Thank you. Jason, did you want to touch on, I know you're planning to have extra coverage on this weekend.
Thank you, Terry. Yes. So from Thorold bylaws perspective, we will have our officers on duty Saturday and Sunday during the day, as we have been. And I am currently working on providing additional staffing both during the day and into the late evenings on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evening to help complement the NRPS services that are out there.
Thank you, Jason. Sean, did you want to talk about this weekend as far as your staffing?
Sorry, yeah, we will also be enhancing our staffing this weekend for both Thorold and St. Catharines. We do have an initiative in the Winterberry, Juneberry area, and then we also have something in downtown St. Catharines, which will afford us some resources if we have to go into different parts of Thorold too, where we're going to be out there with the regional bylaw and fire, the GCO, and that. So if there's something that we're going to be downtown St. Catharines as well, but that doesn't mean that we can't spill over into certain parts in Thorold if something that's going on. Yeah, but yeah, we'll definitely have an enhanced staffing model for this coming weekend.
Thank you. Austin, did you have anything from Busu's side?
Yeah, we have a few events, like I said earlier, a few events planned next week. Just some pop-up activities during like our Isaac's extended hours, which is our pub on campus. Everything from karaoke, trivia night, movie night. But like I said, all the events are still limited with capacity limits and any regulations we have. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you, Austin. So just to make everybody aware, our subcommittee is going to meet again on Wednesday afternoon at 3 to make sure and go over everything for this coming weekend. And then we'll meet again the following Wednesday to go over everything that transpired and to prepare for the following weekend after that. So just to let you know that that will be transpiring. Are there any questions before I move on to round table? Because I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak, because there's a lot of people that that want to speak that weren't for questions. Quickly, Stephanie, go ahead.
So from my understanding, as of today, the provincial government changed capacity limits on a bunch of areas. So I'm curious how that will open for the event happening on campus. Restaurants and gyms, for example, can be at 100% capacity now.
Brad, can you answer the difference between on-campus and off-campus events? And I think this is why one thing Brad did mention about the university maybe holding events off campus because of capacity limits. Can you expand on that, Brad?
I can. Stephanie's question broke up a little bit for me as it was being said. So I'll go by what I think you were asking about and then just adjust if
the differences between capacity limits on campus and off campus because of the changes.
Yeah. So again, we've been in consistent communication with the region around what our sector specific guidelines are as it relates to gatherings. And so to a large extent, the announcements of the provincial government last week don't change that. There was expansion for recreational services, which certainly we have some offerings on campus through rec services, and those will be considered. But in general, there were no changes around gathering limits. And so when it comes to in-person events, indoors or outdoors on campus, we're still following the sector guidelines for universities and colleges. But as mentioned, our strategy to provide compelling alternatives in more significant numbers is to stack events, which is to say have multiple events happening at different points in different locations on campus, and then also to repeat those events. So time slots and numerous offerings of similar events in order to give more students the chance to participate. I believe that answers the question.
Yeah, and we'll review that on Wednesday again with the regional bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to open now the round table, and I'm going to start with our community representatives that haven't had a chance yet to speak. I'll start with Penny Kramer. Do you have anything, Penny?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there is an issue with parking. Is there any way signs can be put on corners, no parking from there to the corner? Constantly, like I even, just the other day, I went to go pull on to Gonzales. The cars were parked right up to the corner on Gonzales and also on Summers. Now a car's coming out. I've got to get through that bottleneck to get down. A car's coming out as I tried to go in. Now I got to back out onto Summers where there's no stop there and not being able to see if there's any cars coming.
Okay,
There's
that's
no room to budge around corners in Thorold, like in Confederation area in Thorold, because the students park in corners.
That's a good point, Penny. Joanne, can you take note of that and make sure we give that to Public Works Engineering?
Yes, no problem.
They look after sign. There is no parking so much from a corner, but I agree with you, Penny. It's better if there's a sign there, and
it makes it easier for the bylaw officer because he's not going to get out there and measure.
yeah, no, it's a point well taken. I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Penny?
That was it.
Okay, I've got Penny Palmer next. Is Penny Palmer still here?
Terry, Penny Palmer typed in the chat that she doesn't have any items. or any
Okay.
questions.
Thank you, Jason. You beat me to it.
Janice Crutch. Is Janice still here? I seen her there.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm here. Sorry, I forgot to unmute there. Just Penny's comment. I was noticing that myself, especially in the that area, the newly built up area of Thorold. One of the things I did notice, some of the streets do have those signs. And I think maybe they had parking issues before, but I've seen a number of them in the area, but then on other streets, there isn't anything. So that was a very good point that Penny brought up. I had another concern. I know there was, I do sympathize with the residents of Juneberry, but the suggestion of having like garbage receptacles, I'm just wondering if we're not opening up a, you know, a problem or an opportunity for a problem in the future with other residents dumping garbage. Now that we've gone to the every 2 weeks, 2 bags of garbage, I'm just not sure if we're, you know, creating another problem by solving another problem in the area. So that was my only concern. So
well, it's a fair comment, Janice. I can tell you that as the every other week garbage collection, the longer that it's been implemented, we find less of that problem. And it's been the way in other municipalities that have brought in every other week garbage. That was a problem early on, and it becomes less of a problem the longer you're on it. I can tell you that just from our I chair the Waste Management Steering Committee at the region, and after 1 year on the program, 24% increase in organics, 8% increase in recycling, and 16% less going to the landfill. So we've already improved 16% of diversion in 1 year. So those are the statistics from the first year.
but if you're not, but if you are implementing or putting in additional garbage receptacles, are you not kind of condoning the parties, you know, in the area? I'm just throwing that out there.
No, it's a fair comment. It's going to get turned over to our Public Works and group, and they're our experts in that area. So.
Okay, no, I just thought I brought it up because that's the first thing I thought of. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Gary, you're up. Sorry, I had to cut you off before. Now I give you the floor.
No, okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Jason, I'm seeing the bylaw enforcement guys more than I ever seen before. So congratulations on increasing that part of the enforcement. It's been really good. I've seen cars getting tickets all over the place. So congrats on that. I know I don't need to tell you what's going on out here, but just in this past little while from the Juneberry incident, my neighbor went outside at 1 o'clock in the morning because there was a ruckus in front of our house. And I live on Silver Maple, which is just off Winterberry. And all that commotion spilled all the way down our area. And he went outside mistakenly and asked them to keep it down. There was probably 20, a bunch of girls screaming and carrying on. He was told to mind his own business, get back in his house or else. And I've cleaned up the language. Like, I know there's only probably 1% of younger people that are causing most of this problem. But like I said, at the very first meeting we had 3-4 years ago when we first started this committee, unless there's some kind of punishment associated with this kind of behavior. There was 2 guys trying to rip this stop sign. What they were going to do with it, I have no idea. Out of the ground at the corner of Winterberry and
Silver Maple.
Silver Maple. So, like, it's crazy, and I know Brock is trying to do what they're trying to do, and the police got their hands tied, and because they only can do what the. But these kids were invited here by Brock. Is there no possible way that these universities across the country, and you've seen, I know you read the paper all the time, you've seen the problems in Nova Scotia and Ottawa and Kingston, and can't these universities get together? I know I asked that before and was told flatly there's nothing they can do off campus because that's private. But these people were invited here by the university that they go to. Can't these universities get together and make up some kind of code of conduct where there's some kind of penalty associated with behaving like an animal outside on the street? I don't know. And I know it's probably not going to happen in my lifetime, but at least start the process.
Well, Gary, that's an excellent point, and that's one of the things we've asked. And Brock is right now reviewing their code of conduct, and they're going to report back probably by the, I'm guessing, end of November. Brad, is that a fair timeline that I'm saying?
I think that's reasonable. As noted, the code is something that we are looking at as a tool within the overall framework, and I look forward to sharing more on that review in due course.
And I'm meeting with Lynn Wells on November 26th, so I'm hopeful that there'll be more information then. But continue, Gary. Sorry.
But Brad, one university I don't think has the power to either move the government or whatever association has to move to get that enforced. I think it has to be a joint thing with every university in Canada because everybody's experiencing the same problem. They may not make the paper or make the news, but everybody's experiencing the same problem. And it's never going to get better because every year and I know you guys, I've seen you, I've seen the mayor, I've seen the president, I've seen you out knocking on doors, talking to students. But every year you get a new batch of students. And every year we experience the same thing. And until each student that comes to the university, any university, I'm not just living abroad, signs a piece of paper that says they're going to have consequences if their behavior is above normal. I don't know. We could be here for another 20 years talking about the same thing every year. But anyways, I'm good. But congratulations, Jason, on getting your guys out there and enforcing the rules.
And Gary, thank you, because you're we appreciate when you come and you speak on these issues. And we couldn't agree more with the point you raised, and we're working on the issue that you did raise regarding the code of conduct. I think it's a very good point. And I also agree with what you said. It should be something that all the universities work together, but we're working closely with Brock on that, just so you're aware.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank
Andrew. Is Andrew there?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Andrew. Idolo Marandola. Is Idolo there? Joanne, is Idolo still on?
Yeah, he is here. It's just
Sorry about
there he
that.
goes.
No, great meeting today. I have nothing to add at this point, at this moment, sorry. But yeah, I'm pleased with the direction that we're going in.
Thank you, Idolo. Paul Carpini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sounds like there's an enormous problem primarily.
Go ahead, I can't hear.
I think he froze, Mr. Mayor.
It appears to me that there's a strong.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so there's a strong
Mr. Mayor, it's not
collective
ours,
effort.
it's his.
Sorry?
Paul, you keep cutting out and freezing, so we keep missing everything you're saying.
Yeah, maybe I can send an email, but I'm having technical problems. I'm sorry about
Paul?
that.
Paul, try turning off your video. That might help.
Yeah, it'll help in a lot of ways if you don't see me, I guess. So on a serious matter, it seems to me that there's a strong collective effort by the police, Brock University, to respond to the one thing I like seeing is these events that are happening that'll draw the activities away that area. One thing that may have been mentioned to the off-campus students who we want to draw to these events, and how can St. Catherine's bus be added into this with maybe more routes during the time period that the events are going on. Finally, it was a great idea, I think, on the waste bin plan. And you'll notice throughout other parts of the city, Lumina has bins that are excellent. They for the the waste, and they're contained in a way that a person couldn't come really and bring in a whole big bag, and I think that would to some degree mitigate the litter problem. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that, and you always bring some good issues forward, and I appreciate you doing that again today. Sean, do you have anything else to add? Sean Dowd, our community partners. I'm just going to throw it out for our community partners. Do they have anything else to add, or they feel they've captured everything? Sean, do you have anything?
I have a question. This is for one of my officers who sets stuff up. Do you know the Thorold Christmas Parade gonna go forward this year?
I'm hoping to, good question. I'm waiting I should know by the end of this week. I'm hoping to find out. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm waiting for the group to let us know, and we should know within the week. Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Brad, anything else to add?
Just quickly, in relation to the question from Gary about coordinating across campuses, I am meeting with my provincial counterparts later this afternoon, and this item of unsanctioned gatherings is on our agenda. So I'll see what interest there might be in a consolidated effort.
Jason, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, Terry, thank you. I don't have anything additional to add.
Austin? No, I don't see him. Okay, is there anyone else, has anything else to add that I've missed before I go to my closing comments here?
Terry, it's Ken. Can I say something?
Yes, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
That's okay. First of all, I'd like to ask Officer Dowd a question, or ask if they're doing this again, the ride program, and I said it to the officer that night, could you bring it over the hump to the other side, right at the entrance of where everything's happening? Just a suggestion, if you could, that would be great.
Sean, are you there?
Sorry, my apologies. I just got sidetracked on something on the side. Can you repeat that?
Just where you had the ride program you had on the one side of the hump over the highway in that area was great, but that was towards Big Red. If you brought it to the other side, I think it would send a huge message to them. It was a great idea of just putting my 2 cents in for having lights flashing over there would be great.
Right. No, and we picked up on that, and even in the past couple of weeks without ride, we're doing a lot of traffic stops out there as well, just the sobriety checks, just without running a ride campaign. And as a result of that, we've issued a bunch of tickets as well. But when we do run a ride campaign again, I got your suggestion of get on the other side of the hump. So
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My
problem.
second thing is, and I won't be long, is Gary, you hit it on the head. He stole everything I was going to say, which was perfect. The only thing I would say to this code of conduct is, like you said, when you sign up for Brock, you're welcome to Brock. Do you want to come here? Yes, I do. Sign here. Here's our conditions. I've said it many times. If you get strike one, here's the semester gone. And I'm just spitballing, here's something else gone. But there's a process where if you're a 3-strike offender, you shouldn't be at school anymore because you're not mature enough to go there. And at that point, that should follow you around, that if you want to go apply to UBC or something now, that shows on your transcript for, say, 5 years. You don't want to kill anybody for their life. But again, this seems to me like the best way and should be done. Exactly what Gary said, just with those things at the end, I would love to see. And I know you're working on it, Brad, and everybody is, but there's no reason this can't fly. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else before I go to closing?
Terry, it's John Kenny. I wanted to speak.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, there's a couple of things brought up at council. One thing is that the city might be looking at Brock to subsidize some of these bylaw officers that are working. I think we should have, like, for instance, this weekend, somebody working from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. and with a number that is given to the residents that they could call so they don't get an answering machine when they call. I think that's needed. I think this year in the budget, Jason, we should budget for a weekend like this for an officer from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. on all the holiday weekends. Put it right in the budget and have it there. And tell the union, if you have to, we're looking for an officer for 3 nights this weekend and every holiday weekend. Because we need it. The people are speaking loud and clear, and they want a number to call and not an answering machine. So we have to get that number out there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate that. Okay.
Ugolini, I just want to step in for a minute. Stephanie, I see that you want to speak.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, you cannot because you are under the delegation portion of the agenda and that portion has passed.
Okay. Now. Okay.
Can I still ask a question? I'm Bernard from Thorold Today. Wait, hi, it's Bernard from Thorold Today. I have a question that I was waiting to ask as well. Because last week at City Council, the idea was floated to ask Brock for a financial contribution to offset some costs because a similar solution was created in Kingston, like that was discussed among councillors. And I was wondering if that was still an idea that was being floated around or not. I guess it's like more a question for councillors present and for the mayor, if that was something they were still considering.
Yeah, and I addressed it earlier in my remarks that we are going to be approaching the university to ask for assistance. Brock right now is paying for additional policing. we're going to be asking them to help us pay for additional bylaw enforcement. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernard. Okay. Before I close, I just want to say that I can't thank our community partners enough, because believe me, every week we meet and we go and things are slowly improving, but we're not where we want to be yet. I'll be the first to admit it, and so will all our community partners. But we're working hard. Nobody's sitting on their hands. We meet weekly, we go over strategy, we work collaboratively. And one thing I can say is that everybody's pulling in the same direction. And when I say that, I mean Niagara College, Brock University, Busu, I mean bylaw at the region, bylaw at Thorold, Waste Management, Niagara Regional Police Services, off-campus security at Brock. Everybody's working, trying to make things better. And we will continue to do that. And we will continue to work, and we will continue to meet. And I want to thank today from City Councilor, Councilor Sentence and Councilor Kenny for being on this meeting today. And like I said, we're meeting tomorrow. We're going to go over our preparations once again for Halloween, and then we'll be meeting the following Wednesday to do a review on Halloween weekend, as well as prepare for the weekend after that. So this has been a collaborative effort, and everybody is working hard. And we know there's a lot of road to travel. And I appreciate the work of this committee and the suggestions brought forward today. And we've taken note of those suggestions, and we'll continue to work and try and implement our strategies and improve our strategies moving forward. With that, I'll just say that our next meeting as a group, the Town and Gown Group, will be Monday, January 24th at 10 a.m. And unless we need to be called earlier, and our subcommittee will be meeting, continue to meet on a weekly basis in the foreseeable future. And that being said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Penny Kramer.
Penny Kramer, seconded by Gary Citrigno. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everybody's input today, and we'll continue to work hard to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.